Hi, welcome to Fox Valley Today. I'm Barb Nadeau. My guest is Dan Nasharr. He is here for Suicide Prevention Services to tell us some, well, sobering news, but also to invite us to be part of a solution, a walk for life, to be here for life. And Dan, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Barb.
How do you open a show like this on such an important topic as suicide and suicide prevention services in Batavia, which, you know, they're located in Batavia, but their influence is really, you know, they're reaching out to make a difference right here.
Absolutely. Suicide Prevention Services was founded in 1982, and we're one of 7 organizations that is opening minds and saving lives through intervention, prevention, and postvention, and saving lives. So we've
intervention, prevention, intervention, and postvention.
Right, and all three we feel is a very important thing to have to help people that are impacted by suicide and those that are either attempting suicide. So making a difference in that regard.
Well, I know there's a lot of different reasons that people might have that would make them suicidal. It's unfortunate to say that, but you know, throughout the years, my years as a resident here in the area, as a mother, as a you know, being involved in my community, trying to make a difference, I've met a lot of people from Suicide Prevention Services, people like you that have said, you know, this is a cause that I really want to get behind, and there's always someone new. And that's you know, that really struck me when I met you, Dan, because I thought, why is it that there's always someone new who is in that postvention point of view?
Right. Unfortunately, every 14 minutes, someone is in America commits suicide. And of those individuals, 7 people, our family members, are impacted by suicide. 90% of the people that commit suicide have an undiagnosed mental illness. So through SPS, we're helping screen individuals for depression, getting them the right help, the right medication, so that they are not suicidal.
So Suicide Prevention Services, a lot of people might think it's just a hotline, you know, somewhere you can call and get someone to talk to, but it may have been once upon a time, but it's really branched out past being just a hotline, because they're well, leaders in this field.
Absolutely. We do a lot of activities in and around the local area, training firemen, policemen, hospitals, schools, very important with schools. 81% of our expenditures go for our program services. So we're out in the community. We have about an average of more of 5 people walk in our doors every week looking for help. So we're there for the community, and we're there to serve and help individuals.
I hate to ask you, I really do, but what brought you to Suicide Prevention Services?
My life changed October 29th, 2010. My brother David was 49 years old, and he died of suicide. He lived in California, had a beautiful wife, Lisa, and his son Joseph and Annie. And my brother and David, we had Susie, David, and Aaron, and it was a tragic event, but since that day I've made a decision that I want to make a difference and help others.
You brought a picture of your family. You've got your brother, your 2 sisters, and yourself having a great day there.
That was actually the last week we were all together out in California. Yeah, so.
This is so not too far before his decision to take his life.
2 weeks, yeah.
It's hard to believe, because when you look at someone with so full of life, so happy, that they can go to the depths to want to take their own life. And I know that, you know, I was just reading some statistics that for people who are 15 to 24, it's like the 3rd leading cause of death. You just said every 14 minutes there's someone. Where does suicide rank, like, as far as like heart disease and cancer for the entire population?
So heart disease is #1. More people die of suicide than they die in car accidents. Hard to believe. It's 10th in the nation of how people die.
Why? Can SPS, can they, I mean, I know you've said mental illness, but are there certain things that they're seeing that are pointing to why this is happening?
I think probably the biggest question that we'll never get the answer to is why. And all the research and the books that I've read by Carla Fine and Eric Hipple that have written books about suicide, Senator Graham, Remembering Garrett, that's a question that we'll never really truly understand.
Go ahead. I was going to say, you brought a book here by Carla Fine, and you were telling me about this book before the show, No Time to Say Goodbye.
It's an excellent book. She's a great author. She actually responds to emails if you reach out to her. Just a great individual. She lost her husband to suicide. But I think in just not really understanding the reason why someone takes their life, but how can we prevent people from taking their lives. And I imagine a world where we've cured polio, we've cured smallpox. Is there a day there that we can actually have no suicides? And I think that day definitely can happen because of the medicine that we have, the drug companies that are inventing these drugs that are helping with depression and the mental illnesses. I think that day will come.
There's just so many different things that stop you when you start thinking about suicide. And you mentioned, making a difference, stop either with intervention of a doctor or intervention of a friend. Mm-hmm. And I think friends are afraid to intervene. Family members are afraid to ask that question.
Sure. Actually, SPS has a class that we have, and it's called QPR, and it stands for Question, Persuade, and Respond, and Refer. So we teach individuals how to have the courage to question. Are you mm-hmm. thinking about hurting yourself? And we're giving them the confidence to persuade and really have that confidence of knowing what you're talking about and helping individuals, and then having the knowledge to refer them to SPSS or SPS or to hospitals mm-hmm. or a physician to get help. So QPR does a lot of great things.
Yeah, you said respond. I think respond is, you said refer and you said respond, and really that's what we need to do. We all need to respond to each other. We can't not.
Right.
And I think people are afraid to say, do you think, what are you thinking? Are you thinking of this? You sound like you're saying that you want to end it all or whatever, and getting sure. that conversation going. They don't want to have that conversation. They're frightened to have it.
I think in a strange way, I think they do want to have that conversation. They want someone to ask, to recognize that they are in pain. Mm-hmm. The funny saying is, everyone talks about the weather, but no one does anything about it. I think no one talks about suicide, but SPS uh-huh. is doing something about it. We're talking about suicide. We're getting it into the schools. There's always been a thought of, hey, if we talk about suicide, we're going to give someone an idea. But truly, mm-hmm. that's not the case. We're bringing it out, and it's not a stigma. It's a mental illness. And just as if you have high cholesterol, you need to get medication. If you have mental illness, you need to have medication.
QPR. Question. Ask the question. Don't mm-hmm. be afraid to ask the question.
Persuade.
Persuade that person to try to look at the world differently, try to get help, persuade them to...
Persuade them just to say, hey, you know what, life does have value, and you, mm-hmm. you are a valuable person. Look at all the great things you have. Show gratitude.
And whether or not they believe that, that's when the next step of refer comes in, because you can't just persuade someone. You can't stop with questioning, persuading. You're still leaving that person high and dry. You really need to make some actual, come on, let's take a ride and get them
Absolutely.
To that doctor.
Right.
Get them referred. Get them to where they need to be.
Right. Look at it as CPR. CPR, you're there as a responder, and you're doing CPR on a person. You're just getting them from there to the hospital. QPR is the same thing, but for mental illness, where you're helping them in that particular moment of darkness, pretty much buying time and making sure that they're in a safe place, mm-hmm. referring them then to the right people to help them out.
Mm-hmm. For you to see what happened with your brother and to realize that he was like halfway through his life. He had so much more to give. That's so. I have to think that that's got to be hard for you, your entire family, your sisters, any children that are wondering why. So it really does affect more than just the person who is in that suicidal state. There's so many layers of people that need help.
Absolutely. There's, as I said, there's on average, 7 people for every suicide that are impacted by suicide. And those are the individuals that truly, that's where SPS really comes into play, and helping with reaching out to them and making sure that they're getting the love and the support. We have 2 events every month. We have a meeting at the Advent Christian Church in Aurora on the 3rd Mondays of every month, and then here in Sandwich we have a meeting that's at the Salem Lutheran Church that's on the 1st Monday of every month. and those are put on by individuals from SPS. We have Carrie Franzen and Wendy McKenzie do an outstanding job in making sure that the rooms are set up and that it's an open environment. Where pretty much everyone there has been impacted by suicide, friends, family, relatives, and it's an open forum to express your feelings. And I think that really, the first meeting that I went to was in January of 2011, 3 months after David died. And that particular event, that night that I was there, that really opened up my mind to saying, gosh, you know, there's other individuals who have been impacted by suicide. And you never get over it. You get through it. And that's what SPS is there, is to get you through it. And to see that there is hope and make a difference.
Oh, wow, it's just absolutely an incredible thing that you're doing for all of us. And I want to remind everyone, while we're talking with Dan today, there is help out there. As you mentioned, if you're in the Aurora area, that Survivors of Suicide meeting, 7 to 9 p.m. at the Advent Christian Church. That's the third Monday of the month. The first Monday of the month in Sandwich at Salem Lutheran Church, again, 7 p.m. at Salem Lutheran Church here in Sandwich. And you know, I didn't even realize that they had a group that was so close.
Sure.
And so you're really helping so much, so many people that you don't even know that need to hear this message, and friends and family of those people who need to know. We also have the web address for Suicide Prevention Services and the hotline number. So this is a number that you can call, or even if you're family of someone or friend of someone, you can call that hotline, and they will help you with that whole QPR thing. You know, what is that thing that I heard on TV? You know, what is that QPR? You don't have to be the one that's actually contemplating suicide to call that hotline number. You can get help.
Absolutely. And then actually we're looking for volunteers to work the phone lines. We have great volunteers. We just had an event on Friday evening recognizing the volunteers that we had. We have one volunteer that actually has over 10,000 hours of volunteers. Hours for SPS. Just tremendous individuals. Without them, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Well, you know, before we went on the show, on the air today with this show, Dan, you and I were talking about, you know, making a difference and how we can change a life. Thinking about that volunteer that put in so many hours, and you and I were talking about just smiling at someone.
Sure.
Just changing somebody's day by your outlook, or noticing something nice about them and saying, hey, you know, great t-shirt even, whatever that may be, really does make a difference in a person's life.
Absolutely. Mother Teresa said it best when she said that the smile is the universal language of love. And with that, I mean, just a friendly smile to someone can make their day. There's a story of a high schooler that freshman year was coming home from school and it was getting bullied. And I think that's a big issue here in the schools today. It was being bullied, and some little kid picked up his books and helped him carry him to school. That kid went on to be the valedictorian and gave a speech and said if it wasn't for that individual that one particular day when he was contemplating suicide, it made a difference in his life and just showed him, hey, you know what, there is love in the world. That he went on to be valedictorian, gave a speech, and he recognized that individual that actually helped him that day. So little things in the world, as Harvey McKay said, little things don't mean a lot. Little things mean everything. Little
things make a whole lot of difference. And of course, Suicide Prevention Services has been such a wonderful addition to our Fox Valley area. They have, you know, their main offices in Batavia and satellite offices. They've got one that they opened up last year in Yorkville. They're having survivors of suicide events in Aurora, as we said, in Sandwich. You're reaching out. I've met people from the DeKalb area that are involved in Suicide Prevention Services, and I know that Suicide Prevention Services has been a leader nationally in this whole model of saying, yes, we can prevent this from happening again. We can prevent this from being a family